Who is F. Scott Fitzgerald? Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald, born on September 24, 1896 and died on December 21, 1940, was an American novelist, essayist, and short story writer. He is best known for his novels depicting the flamboyance and excess of the Jazz Age, a term he popularized in his short story collection Tales of the Jazz Age. During his lifetime, he published 4 novels, 4 story collections, and 164 short stories. Although he achieved temporary popular success and fortune in the 1920s, Fitzgerald received critical acclaim only after his death and is now widely regarded as one of the greatest American writers of the 20th century. Born into a middle-class family in St. Paul, Minnesota, Fitzgerald was raised primarily in New York State. He attended Princeton University where he befriended future literary critic Edmund Wilson. Owing to a failed romantic relationship with Chicago socialite Ginevra King, he dropped out in 1917 to join the United States Army during World War I. While stationed in Alabama, he met Zelda Sayer, a Southern debutante who belonged to Montgomery's exclusive country club set. Although she initially rejected Fitzgerald's marriage proposal due to his lack of financial prospects, Zelda agreed to marry him after he published the commercially successful This Side of Paradise, 1920. The novel became a cultural sensation and cemented his reputation as one of the eminent writers of the decade. His second novel, The Beautiful and Damned, 1922, propelled him further into the cultural elite. To maintain his affluent lifestyle, he wrote numerous stories for popular magazines such as the Saturday Evening Post, Collier's Weekly, and Esquire. During this period, Fitzgerald frequented Europe, where he befriended modernist writers and artists of the «lost generation» expatriate community, including Ernest Hemingway. His third novel, The Great Gatsby, 1925, received generally favorable reviews but was a commercial failure, selling fewer than 23,000 copies in its first year. Despite its lackluster debut, The Great Gatsby is now hailed by some literary critics as the great American novel. Following the deterioration of his wife's mental health and her placement in a mental institute for schizophrenia, Fitzgerald completed his final novel, Tender as the Night, 1934. Struggling financially because of the declining popularity of his works during the Great Depression, Fitzgerald moved to Hollywood, where he embarked upon an unsuccessful career as a screenwriter. While living in Hollywood, he cohabited with columnist Sheila Graham, his final companion before his death. After a long struggle with alcoholism, he attained sobriety only to die of a heart attack in 1940, at 44. His friend Edmund Wilson edited and published an unfinished fifth novel, The Last Tycoon, 1941, after Fitzgerald's death. In 1993, a new edition was published as The Love of the Last Tycoon, edited by Matthew J. Brucoli. Top 50 quotes by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. I hope she'll be a fool, that's the best thing a girl can be in this world, a beautiful little fool. The loneliest moment in someone's life is when they are watching their whole world fall apart, and all they can do is stare blankly. That is part of the beauty of all literature. You discover that your longings are universal longings, that you're not lonely and isolated from anyone. You belong. Show me a hero, and I'll write you a tragedy. Angry, and half in love with her, and tremendously sorry, I turned away. I don't want to repeat my innocence. I want the pleasure of losing it again. I was within and without, simultaneously enchanted and repelled by the inexhaustible variety of life. I fell in love with her courage, her sincerity, and her flaming self-respect. And it's these things I believe in, even if the whole world indulged in wild suspicions that she wasn't all she should be. I love her and it is the beginning of everything. And I like large parties. They're so intimate. At small parties there isn't any privacy. And so with the sunshine and the great bursts of leaves growing on the trees, just as things grow in fast movies, I had that familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer. I wasn't actually in love, but I felt a sort of tender curiosity. He smiled understandingly, much more than understandingly. It was one of those rare smiles with a quality of eternal reassurance in it, that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life. It faced, or seemed to face, the whole eternal world for an instant, and then concentrated on you with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It understood you just as far as you wanted to be understood, believed in you as you would like to believe in yourself, and assured you that it had precisely the impression of you that, at your best, you hoped to convey. Let us learn to show our friendship for a man when he is alive and not after he is dead. I'm not sentimental, I'm as romantic as you are. The idea, is that the sentimental person thinks things will last. The romantic person has a desperate confidence that they won't. You see, I usually find myself among strangers because I drift here and there trying to forget the sad things that happened to me. There are only the pursued, the pursuing, the busy and the tired. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. Life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall. It was only a sunny smile, and little it cost in the giving, but like morning light it scattered the night and made the day worth living. Reserving judgments is a matter of infinite hope. You don't write because you want to say something, you write because you have something to say. They slipped briskly into an intimacy from which they never recovered. Can't repeat the past? Why, of course you can. Cut out all these exclamation points. An exclamation point is like laughing at your own joke. They're a rotten crowd, I shouted across the lawn. You're worth the whole damn bunch put together. I want to know you moved and breathed in the same world with me. Things are sweeter when they're lost. I know, because once I wanted something and got it. It was the only thing I ever wanted badly, and when I got it, it turned to dust in my hand. Here's to alcohol, the rose-colored glasses of life. You'll find another. God, banish the thought. Why don't you tell me that, if the girl had been worth having, she'd have waited for you? No, sir, the girl really worth having won't wait for anybody. In his blue gardens men and girls came and went like moths among the whisperings and the champagne and the stars. There are all kinds of love in this world, but never the same love twice. I couldn't forgive him or like him, but I saw that what he had done was, to him, entirely justified. It was all very careless and confused. They were careless people, Tom and Daisy. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness, or whatever it was that kept them together, and let other people clean up the mess they had made. I like people and I like them to like me, but I wear my heart where God put it, on the inside. Quote, never confuse a single defeat with a final defeat. It's a great advantage not to drink among hard-drinking people. All I kept thinking about, over and over, was, you can't live forever, you can't live forever. I don't want just words. If that's all you have for me, you'd better go. So we drove on toward death through the cooling twilight. First you take a drink, then the drink takes a drink, then the drink takes you. I felt a haunting loneliness sometimes, and felt it in others, young clerks in the dusk, wasting the most poignant moments of night and life. He looked at her the way all women want to be looked at by a man. No amount of fire or freshness can challenge what a man will store up in his ghostly heart. It takes two to make an accident. Actually, that's my secret. I can't even talk about you to anybody because I don't want any more people to know how wonderful you are. It was always the becoming he dreamed of, never the being. I love her, and that's the beginning and end of everything. Everyone suspects himself of at least one of the cardinal virtues, and this is mine. I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known. If personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures, then there was something gorgeous about him.